Hello everyone, today is 29th of October. Now it's about 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Kudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. Although before I start, let me remind you that later on today, I will publish second news update on my Patreon and Boosty pages. And if you are looking for more news from Russia and more commentary, you're more than welcome to join our communities on Patreon and Boosty. Links are on this video description box. And the monthly subscription on Patreon starts from $5. That's been said. Let's talk about news now. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I will focus on South Donetsk sector mainly. And well, according to latest reports, Russian armed forces, after recent advances and liberation of Bogoyavlenka, Novoukrayinka, and Shakhterskaya, although some sources are arguing that Shakhterskaya is still disputed between the sides. But anyways, Russian troops continue progress and establish control over their Yasnaya Polyana settlement. This village, by the way, on the northern eastern side of Shakhterskaya. And this is not all. Russian troops also further advanced and established full control over the Katerinovka settlement on the eastern flank of South Donetsk sector. And probably, or most likely, before end of this week, Russian armed forces will establish full control over the Antonovka and Elizavetovka settlements. All simultaneously, Russian Defense Ministry, you might be surprised, maybe not, but Russian Defense Ministry only yesterday acknowledged that Russian armed forces established full control of the Tsukurina settlement on the Pokrovsk sector of the front line. And today, Russian media reported that Defense Ministry acknowledged their progress in Katerinovka, Gornyak, and Dobrovolye direction in the Donetsk People's Republic, and these settlements also been acknowledged as liberated by Russian troops. Also, dear friends, we have this report that, according to RIA Novosti, Russian Marines destroyed their armored column of the Kiev regime in the Kursk salient area while this armored column was trying to conduct some counteroffensive operation. Videos are circulating on internet when some tanks, armored personnel carriers of the Kiev regime are trying to conduct this counteroffensive, and obviously Russian side was monitoring the situation, and as you can see on the screen, one by one, this armored group regime, these armored vehicles were destroyed. Also, interesting update on yesterday's news, about which I also spoke in yesterday's update, about this DRG sabotage group that was trying to cross from key-controlled territory into Bryansk region of the Russian Federation. On the borderline, Russian troops opened fire on this, ambushed basically, this DRG. And already yesterday, rumors start circulating on internet that members of this DRG were citizens of US, Canada, and Poland. And later on, official representative of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, confirmed information that yes, that destroyed DRG, there were members of that DRG were citizens of US, Canada, and the Poland, and factual evidences have been found of that as a confirmation. I share the additional information, some photos on my Telegram channel, although some videos are also circulating with this destroyed group and the weapons that they were carrying. Probably many of you already seen that video. It is quite graphic, so I did not share that video. None of us are surprised, obviously, to hear that citizens of NATO member states are actively participating in this proxy war against Russia. This particular group probably was a part of some Western private military company that used by NATO to transfer former or current militaries of the NATO countries into controlled territory to participate in hostilities. And well, this particular group was very unlucky, very unlucky. Probably no one knows what their objectives were because no one survived from that group to tell the story. But unfortunately, probably there are many more such DRGs based on Western former or current militaries that are operating on controlled territory for now. RT is also reporting that US issues an update on North Korean soldiers in Russia. This topic is not leaving the headlines. So North Korea has sent some 10,000 troops to Russia for training and the potential deployment against Ukrainian forces. Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh claimed on Monday, citing assessment by the US Defense Department. Singh told journalists that a portion of those soldiers have already moved closer to Ukraine. US is concerned that the troops would be used in combat or to support combat operations against Ukrainian forces in Russia's Kursk region. The official added there. So, well, you know my take on the whole topic, by the way. Maybe there, in my opinion, there may be some North Korean officers, troops of special forces on Russian soil to undergo some training. That's normal stuff, absolutely. But I have some doubts that these North Korean troops will participate in a zone of operations, in zone of special military operation or counter-terrorist operation in Kursk salient area. Russia definitely don't need no 10,000 North Korean troops or 20,000 North Korean troops. That's for sure. But same time, because there is an agreement in place, isn't it, between Moscow and Pyongyang about bilateral military protection, and formally Pyongyang has every right to, help Russia to assist or repel invasion in the Kursk region. Maybe Pyongyang is using this point to basically enhance battle capabilities of its troops. Maybe they ask Moscow to allow some number of North Korean troops to not just undergo some training, but also to participate in the military operations in the Kursk salient area to gain some real combat experience, which is definitely much more important than just training on some training ground. And who knows if North Korea was very, you know, uh, demanding in this regard that they want to send these troops to gain some experience, real combat experience. Who knows? Maybe Moscow said, okay, like send some troops and we will train them and we will show them some areas. We will take them as a kind of trip on the battlefield. But yet again, this is a headache, by the way. If that's the case, North Korea just wants their troops to uh, gain some real combat experience, and share this experience with their other troops of North Korea. And Moscow, if Moscow agree on that, then that's going to be a headache, isn't it? Because of the language barrier, because of the differences in equipment, there are significant differences in equipment, somewhat similarities, but also big differences. And in many other ways, by the way, logistics, this and that. And I don't know why would Moscow agree on that, to be honest. To train North Korean soldiers, okay, that's a easy task, but to take them as a on a battlefield as if it's some kind of, I don't know, an entertainment. I mean, this is just too much of a headache. And therefore, even though I can see theoretically, uh, I mean, some scenarios in which North Korean troops may appear in the Kursk salient area, I really don't see any need for that on the Russian part. And I'm still skeptical that this will even happen. Because after all, this is not an attraction, isn't it? This is real combat. And I mean, to take thousands of North Korean troops on the battlefield and I don't know, man. This is just too much of a headache. But yet again, I can see scenarios in which, I mean, if North Korea was demanding that, you know what, let our troops gain some battle experience, we need that to enhance our defense capabilities, then okay, Moscow might say yes in that case, but yet again, it's gonna be a headache. But it's gonna be a big headache if this is the case. But if you ask me, I'm still skeptical that North Korean troops will appear in the zone of special military operation or in a zone of counter-terrorist operation. I don't think so. RT is reporting that, well, J.D. Vance, by the way, running Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump appeared on a Meet the Press program on NBC, and he was asked many questions, including about Russia. And he gave a quite somewhat understandable answers, I will say. He was not hostile, at least in his rhetoric. And I spoke about this topic in yesterday's second update on my Patreon and Boosty pages. And I want to highlight this news in this program also because it is interesting and somewhat new, isn't it? Because we used to some hostile, very aggressive statements from representatives of the Western political class, but very rarely some high-ranking public figures in the West are making statements in regards to Russia based on focusing on diplomacy. And that's what Vance did. So let's go through this news. So the US is not at war with Russia and should not seek one. Republican presidential nominee J.D. Vance has stated. The senior senator from Ohio was asked during their appearance on NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday whether he saw the Russian leader as an ally or enemy. Well, what kind of stupid question is that, isn't it? Why would you ask such a question anybody in the West? I mean, none of them are allies of Russia officially, right? So none of them will see Russia as an ally or Russian leadership as an ally, right? I mean, what the hell, man? But yet again, I mean, this NBC is a neoliberal propaganda outlet, isn't it? And they are still pushing this Russia Gate narrative, isn't it? That do you see Putin as your ally? For God's sake, do you see what US or Washington's administration is doing when it comes to hostilities towards Russia? Do you see how hostile US is towards Russia? I have a question to this person, whoever was interviewing the Vance. So if you see that US is acting extremely hostile towards Russia, then why would you ask US vice presidential nominee if he sees the Russian president as an ally? From where these crazy questions are coming? But anyways, answer of the Vance was that Putin is a clearly adversary. He is a competitor, but Washington needs to be smart about diplomacy too. Vance responded, just because we don't like somebody does not mean that we can't occasionally engage in a conversation with them. He suggested the host of this show, Kristen Welker, that's what her name is, or some so host of Kristen Welker pushed him further on whether he would directly refer to Putin as an enemy. And well, answer is that we are not at war with him, and I don't want to be at war with Vladimir Putin's Russia. The senator said, I think that we should try to pursue avenues of peace. The same logic applies to China when Seder adding that he perceives it as a greater threat to American interests than Russia. US may not like having to talk to its rivals, but in case of Ukraine conflict resolving is in case of Ukraine conflict, resolving it will require negotiations, the senator pointed out. And well, really uh, hard to really disagree on some points here, right? In Vance's statements, it's okay if Vance, Trump, their camp sees Russian leadership as adversaries. Adversaries are okay. Competition is okay, right? Adversary is a quite a strong word. That means that we are, you know, kind of enemies. But okay, he did not say enemy, which is a stronger word. Okay, he's more focused on diplomacy. And what is also interesting, dear friends, he clearly says that, in his opinion, and I guess many members of the Trump camp and whatever forces are behind them, uh, they are probably thinking that China is a main competitor for the U.S. and for the U.S. domination, right? Not the Russia. And probably all of them understand that the Western ruling class, neolibs, neocons, or whoever was pulling the strings, they made a fatal mistake by waging this proxy war against Russia and their sanctions war against Russia, and by trying to basically destroy relationships between West and Russia, because by doing so they push Moscow and Beijing closer together, right? And China was never stronger than it is now, exactly because of this strategic level of cooperation between Moscow and Beijing, right? And it seems like Vance, Trump, and many others in their inner circle understand this. And if they will win election, by the way, if they will win election, they might even try to somewhat improve relationships with Russia, maybe even to drive some gap between Russia and China, but I think it would not work. They might try to improve relationships with Russia, and Moscow would not be against it, obviously, on some level. But for a real improvement of the relationships, trust is needed, right? And I guess not just current leadership of Russia, but future leaderships of Russia for years and years to come, decades probably, will struggle to ever trust Western political class, right? This is just an objective reality that uh, everyone should acknowledge, isn't it? Because Russia was lied by Western ruling elites so many times that I don't know how anybody in Russia can trust Western political class, man. Really. Not now, not anytime soon. I mean, 10, 20, 30 years will change anything? I don't know. I don't know. So therefore, relationships may be improved a little bit. At least hostilities may decline, but well, West had a chance, isn't it? Western ruling class had a chance to bring Russia in, to treat Russia as their equal with respect and dignity, and that will make collective West much stronger, right? But they chose other way. They wanted their domination. They wanted to order Russia what to do, when, how, and so on. And if they knew history, they would realize that it would not work, and it did not work, right? And we are where we are now as a result of these fatal mistakes made by Western ruling class and their elites. But seems to me that they were just unable to overcome their emotions. Their decision-making process was based more on emotions and their hatred towards Russia since the Cold War than on logics. If their actions were based on logic and pragmatism, they would never ever act this hostile towards Russia, right? Anyways, interesting to know that there are some people in Trump's camp that are at least not seeking further escalation with Moscow. Although, of course, I understand, and we all understand that one thing is statements, public statements, and other is real policies. And um, who knows? Who knows if Vance and Trump will win this election? How much freedom they will have to really influence US's foreign policies, if they will have any freedom on that at all, or any say. Because, I mean, as far as I understand, true decision makers are in shadows. We can call it, I mean, deep state or intelligence community, whatever, multinational corporations, globalists. But, I mean, in any case, decision makers clearly are somewhere in shadows. And the last 4 years was demonstration of that, isn't it? Every single day of Biden's administration, of clear demonstration of that, because hardly anyone can believe that Biden was making any. He barely understand where he is and who he is and that kind of stuff. Anyways, let's continue. And Georgia is making headlines again, dear friends, and will make headlines, will be in headlines for upcoming days or weeks, maybe even months, because Western-controlled so-called opposition there is beginning to work on destabilization of the republic and consequent regime change. Yesterday, after a so-called opposition and the president of Georgia, assets of the West, refused to acknowledge parliamentary elections results. They called their supporters to go out of streets and protest. And yesterday, in Tbilisi, capital of Georgia, right next to this parliament building, first protest took place. This is Rustaveli Avenue, by the way. Um, and as you can see, quite a number of supporters of this so-called opposition went out, maybe 10, maybe 15,000. Um, Rustaveli Avenue definitely have seen much bigger gatherings, obviously. But this is, I'm afraid, this is just a beginning, and every day now, every day, this protest will take place, and at some point, I'm afraid the Western assets in Georgia will start escalating militarily. They will start conducting provocations with the deployment of arms and explosive materials and so on. And on that topic, we have this report from RIA Novosti, and other Russian media outlets also paid attention to this news that snipers were deployed to Georgia from the Kiev-controlled territory who undergo training in Ukraine. And these snipers will be used for escalation, to escalate situation in a country. And I remind you, dear friends, when I saw this news, first what I remember was 2014 coup d'etat in Ukraine, when on final stage of coup d'etat, Western ruling class, Western secret services deployed snipers who opened fire on both sides towards law enforcement officers and also towards protesters, and over 100 people were killed as a result of this sniper fire. And that was used then as justification for regime change and for ousting legit president for the time of Ukraine, Yanukovych, from the office. And I'm afraid Western ruling class, Western secret services may try somewhat similar scenario in Georgia also, and that's why they deployed snipers, probably not just snipers, but all sort of militants that are capable of atrocities. And obviously, Georgian security services and society in general should be on high alert and very careful to deal with whatever provocations Western assets in Georgia are planning to come up with. And dear friends, right now, Russian Defense Ministry report on RIA Novosti that Russian Defense Ministry also confirmed the information about liberation of Selidovo. Of course, I reported about liberation of Selidovo a couple of days ago, and Defense Ministry is confirming this news. But to stay on topic of Georgia, while assets of the U.S. Secret Services, British Secret Services, French Secret Services are preparing, and those Secret Services themselves are preparing coup d'etat in Georgia, destabilization and the coup d'etat to then use Georgia as a sort of tool against Russia and sacrifice it as Ukraine was sacrificed. Officials in Washington are threatening Georgia openly. So US Secret Services are operating undercover, and their officials are threatening Georgia openly. So during the press conference on Monday, U.S. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller argued that the elections in Georgia, parliamentary elections, was held in an environment shaped by the ruling party's policies, including misuse of public resources, vote buying, and voter intimidation. We encourage Georgia's government officials to consider the relationships they want with the Euro-Atlantic community rather than strengthening policies that are prized by the authoritarians, Miller added, and he also said that we do not rule out further consequences if the Georgian government's direction does not change, he said, urging Tbilisi to start withdrawing and repealing anti-democratic legislation. And their friends know what they're calling anti-democratic legislation? Law about foreign agents that US also has, and Georgian law on foreign agents basically almost the copy of the US one, right? But for whatever reason, Washington is in not hurry to withdraw its own law about foreign agents, but it sees similar law in Georgia as some sort of anti-democratic, Really? Something is wrong with these elements, by the way. I mean, where is the logic here? If for US this law is okay, then why it's not okay for Georgia? That's one law that they don't like, and another one is that recently Georgian Parliament also adopted the law about banning LGBTQ propaganda, and obviously globalists and their puppets in the West they don't like it at all. But obviously, of course, major reason why Washington is not happy with Georgia's current government is that uh, Georgian Dream Party, basically Georgia's government, refused to sacrifice Georgia as a sort of second front against Russia. That's all. That's why Washington, London, Paris are not happy with Georgia's government because they didn't sacrifice Georgia as Zelensky did sacrifice Ukraine, right? And that's why Washington, US Secret Services, London, British Secret Services, France, French Secret Services are actively involved now in destabilizing Georgia. They are using their assets and will continue to do so. And because they want regime change to happen, they won't put their puppets in a government and then sacrifice Georgia, use it as a against Russia. And I'm afraid if Western ruling class will prevail in this attempt, then Georgia may just not survive. Georgia may end up not just in internal conflict, but Georgia may end up in conflicts with a number of neighboring countries, and Georgia may lose a significant number of lives, significant parts of its territory, um, and I mean, Georgia may just not survive. Georgia that we know may not survive regime change and all that kind of stuff. But by the way, thanks God, they're in the West. They are not just people like this person here, representative of State Department or head of State Department, Blinken or Biden or other extremists in US or in Europe. There are plenty of them, isn't it? But thanks God, in the Western elites or political elites, there are normal people also, like Viktor Orban, for example, like foreign minister of Hungary, uh, Szijjártó, like prime minister of Slovakia, Roberto Fico, and some others. And for example, when it comes to Viktor Orban, then well, Prime Minister of Hungary not just congratulate his Georgian colleague, Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Kobakidze, with their success on parliamentary elections, but he went to Georgia and he congratulated uh, his colleague in person. And he did it because obviously he has access to classified information, isn't it? He just knows more than we do. And he is informed perfectly well that Western ruling class wants to conduct regime change in Georgia and then to sacrifice this former Soviet republic and use it as a kind of second front against Russia, some sort of tool against Russia, right? Without any care about citizens of Georgia or their interests. And Orban is all about against it. Orban, as far as I understand, is against this proxy war against Russia. He wants this proxy war against Russia to end. And he's calling for ceasefire in Ukraine, for negotiations when it comes to Ukrainian crisis. And he definitely don't want escalation in Georgia, right? And that's why he went in person there to meet the government and congratulate in person. This is just demonstration of, in principle, of ideas that Hungary stands for. And I will argue number of other European countries are also, at least leadership of those countries. So well done to Viktor Orban. Definitely a legendary prime minister of Hungary, by the way. He will go down in history as a clearly a voice of reason, by the way, in these dark times for collective West. I mean, in 20, 30, 40, 50 years' time, in 100 years' time, probably Viktor Orban will be remembered by history as one of the very few voices of reason in the collective West, because this is actually the truth. I mean, this is factual, isn't it? It is also reporting that, and dear friends, before I continue, as you know, this small media project of mine is completely subscriber funded, and I have to mention this regularly because without your support, I wouldn't be able to continue this work. So, therefore, let me notice once again that yes, this channel is 100% independent, by the way, or 100% dependent on community and community support. So if you like my work, if you want to see further development of my channels and this project, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal or Boosty platforms. Um, you can use crypto also, or you can subscribe. If you can afford longer term support, you can subscribe, of course, on my Patreon page and the Boosty pages. Um, Subscription on Patreon starts from $5 and on Boosty from $6. It changes, but it depends on exchange rate. All the links are on the description box, dear friends. Uh, of course, many thanks to all the members of our community who supported earlier and who supports now and will support in the future. Because without you, this project would not exist, and I would not be able to work in this field of news and political commentary that is exhausting, but this is definitely the stuff that I'm used to because I grew up in journalism, right? I start my journalistic uh, work, how you say, put, when I was 17 in Georgia, in Tbilisi, right? And since then, I mean, I'm now 47, so I spent 30 years in this field, one way or another. So obviously, I love to work, to continue to work in this area and to be able to further develop this project. But it all depends on support of community because as you can see, my channel is not monetized on YouTube. On Rumble, unfortunately, our community is significantly smaller than on YouTube, even though channel is monetized there on Rumble, but views are very little and Rumble cannot be considered as a significant source of financial support for the channel, at least for now. I don't have advertising. Also, as you can see, I don't have sponsors. So I'm 100% dependent on your support. So it is what it is, man. So yes, all the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. RT is reporting, dear friends, that Israel could launch more strikes on Iran. So Israeli ministers have been clearly told to accept a second wave of a strike on Iran. The Hebrew language Channel 13 network has reported, noting that this strike would be carried out in revenge for Hezbollah's drone attack on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence. Israeli Defense Force carried out airstrikes on what it termed their military targets in Iran on last Saturday. The strikes which appear in focus on missile manufacturing facilities and air defense batteries were conducted nearly months after Iran fired around 200 ballistic missiles at Israel, hitting two air bases. Maybe this information is just for internal use in Israel, because after recent Israeli strike on Iran, many radicals, especially radicals in Israel and in Netanyahu's inner circle, were not happy with the scale of the strike. And there are maybe to calm things down, uh, they were given information that you should expect second strike, third strike, and that kind of stuff. And maybe those second and third strikes will never happen. But if Netanyahu's government will conduct another strike on Iran, under whatever pretext, then in that case, most likely Iran will retaliate. Now, Iran will, most likely, in my opinion, will exercise restraint and will not strike Israel. But if Israel will conduct second strike on Iran, then retaliation most likely will be imminent from Iran. And when it comes to Iran, by the way, of course, leadership there understands that Western ruling class is very keen to provoke regional war in the Middle East, and they want to be ready, and they are increasing defense spending for 200%. They are increasing defense spending for 200%, which is quite significant, isn't it? In this news, there are no numbers about what kind of budget Iran has when it comes to defense spending. Probably we are talking about a few tens of billions of dollars, and this number will increase to 100%. So probably will be around 100 billion, which is wow, which is significant, by the way, which is significant. So yes, Iran is preparing for possible provocations. RT is reporting that Israeli parliament has adopted two bills blocking the work of the UN Relief and the Works Agency, which helps Palestinian refugees in the West Bank and the Gaza. Netanyahu's government was critical of this institution of the UN, and now they are blocking its operations in Israel. TASS news agency is reporting that director of the CIA proposed a 28-day truce for exchange of and for exchange of hostages in the Middle East. Let's translate this news. I find it difficult to take seriously any initiative that comes out from Western ruling class or their assets, including this person, William Burns. But let's go through this news anyways. The director of the Central Intelligence Agency, William Burns, proposed at their Doha talks a new format for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, which provides for a 28-day truce and the exchange of 8 hostages for dozens of Palestinian prisoners. This was reported by Axios portal with a reference to Israeli officials. So, who remembers how many initiatives we hear from US about ceasefire, but none of them work, isn't it? And hostilities are only escalating. Situation is only escalating. So therefore, I don't think we have any reason to take this initiative of the CIA director seriously, because this is most likely just kind of damage control on part of US administration, because they understand that world sees Biden and his government as participants of all the actions that Netanyahu's government is committing, because they are providing money, they are providing weapons. Uh, Israel was accused of genocide and Netanyahu's government by many countries, many organizations, by the way. Israel is losing support of world community due to actions of the Netanyahu's government big time, and I guess Washington don't wants that heat. And that's the main reason, in my understanding, why they are coming up with some initiatives time after time after time. When, if they really want to de-escalate, to see the escalation, all it takes is one phone call from White House to wherever Netanyahu is located, and that's it. And that's it. But this call was never made. RIA Novosti is reporting that a U.S. military base in Syria was attacked by drones in their Zor province, not far away from Alomar oil field. And this is, I believe, second time in last couple of days this military base is attacked. And I guess this is sort of a trend. And we will see increase on attacks of U.S. military bases in Syria and Iraq in upcoming days and weeks. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that Foreign Minister of North Korea, Choi Son-hee, is in Russia, visiting Russia, and well, there will be official talks about bilateral relationships, improvement of the bilateral relationships. Although relationships already are on strategical level, so I guess some more practical topics will be discussed between the foreign minister of North Korea and his her Russian counterpart, her Russian colleagues, and probably some decisions will be made. One should expect a significant increase in economical cooperation between Russia and North Korea. And if North Korea opens its economy for Russian business, by the way, wow, they're gonna experience boom. They're gonna experience, I mean, rapid improvement of the economic situation. Just give it 5, 10 years, and you would not be able to recognize North Korea if Pyongyang will opens its economy for Russian investments. And I guess that's about what is to happen. That's about what is going to happen. Vzгляд newspaper is reporting that, excuse me, Germany's foreign ministry, by the way, commented on yesterday's this anecdote, basically anecdote situation when many media outlets worldwide started reporting about a visit of foreign minister of Germany, Annalena Baerbock, to China, and video starts circulating on the internet when she is coming down from the plane and no one is there to treat her from a receiving side. And the reports were saying that this was China, that Baerbock was ignored by Chinese leadership. And I mean, almost all media outlets published this video, shared this information. I shared this video on my Telegram channel also, although later on I deleted because it was become known that this was a mistake. This video was made in Malaysia, and according to German Foreign Ministry's explanation, she was not treated by receiving side because plane parked in the wrong place, and she had to walk to place that she locals were waiting for her, local officials, right? And well, I mean, everybody did make mistake, isn't it? So many media outlets, by the way, uh, failed for this fake news, basically, that she was in China and that kind, and was not greeted or something, which is bad. Which is bad, but things like that happens. Okay, it's good to acknowledge that, well, mistake has happened and to act on that. I deleted that comment on my Telegram, for example, as soon as I find right, and I all the other independent channels and mainstream media channels also deleted, probably. But what is interesting, why everybody believe in this? Why I find this news that I see on other platforms believable, and why all the other channels find it believable? Why none of us were that surprised? Maybe because, maybe because, uh, maybe because Annalena Baerbock and German leadership in general not being seen as a group of people that are well respected as politicians worldwide. Maybe that's the reason, isn't it? Probably it is. I know why I find that news believable, exactly because who the hell is Annalena Baerbock, by the way? She barely has her like 5, 6 or 3, 4, 6 degree education. Like she barely has a school education, for God's sake, and she is a foreign minister of Germany, right? I mean, as a politician, I don't know her as a person. Maybe in her personal life, she is a good person. Who knows? I don't know. But as a politician, I have no respect for her. Same can be said about Scholz, right? I don't know who he is in her in personal life. Maybe he is This ordinary guy, I don't know. But as a chancellor of Germany, I mean, he's a disaster, right? And even if Germans, by the way, if Germans themselves find these people, you know, uh, if Germans have no respect for them, then why would anyone have, right? Anyone else? So that's why I believe in that that video was made in China, and that's why everyone probably believe, and it demonstrates level of the German political class, right? And Germany, by the way, despite being occupied by US, in the past Germany had quite a strong leadership, right? And leaders that were well respected, by the way, worldwide. But now, I mean, Scholz, Moltz, and the rest of them, man. Anyways, that's an anecdote situation, by the way, as I said. What else do I have to share? Well, about Germany, by the way, probably you already informed that Volkswagen, biggest car manufacturer of Europe, has decided to shut down three plants in Germany and fire 10,000, tens of thousands of workers, and also cut wages for 10%. Well, the industrialization of the Germany in full strength, I guess, that's clear demonstration. And why is that? Maybe because of the disastrous policies of the very same Annalena Baerbock, Olaf Scholz, and the rest there. Maybe that has something to do with their current economical situation in Germany. And your friends, when it comes to economy, Russian president yesterday afternoon had a meeting with high-ranking officials, and topic of discussion was exactly the economical situation in Russia. And he said unemployment rate is on a record low, only 2.4% in general. And he also noted that what is especially uh, positive development is that among beyond until 25-year-old, among youngsters up to 25 year, unemployment rate is less than 9%, which is a big deal, by the way. We are talking about youngsters, right? So youngsters, younger generation up to 25 years, uh, has no issue with the worker. Majority is working, involved in economical and social activity, which is great. And unemployment is only 9%, by the way, which is one may say nothing because objectively, not all youngsters can, younger generation can right now share time for work because university and this and that, and this number, if you take into account everything, then this number probably even less than that. But in general, unemployment is stands on 2.4% in a country which is also, I mean, quite well explains why Russian economy is overheated, and why Russian economy is needs more workforce. Interfax is reporting that Russian president also spoke about growth of the Russian economy, and he said that in 2024, Russian economy most likely will grow 3.9%. Um, this is expectation of the Kremlin, although I think this expectation is quite conservative because if you ask me, Russian economy will grow this year at least 4 to 4.5%. Just mark my words, dear friends, and in a couple of months' time, let's remember. I think Russian economy this year will grow at least 4.5%. Although 3.9% is of course also great result. 3.5% is great result. 3% is a great result, especially if you take in account that proxy war that West is waging against Russia, and these tens of thousands of sanctions that collective West impose on Russia. But I believe real numbers will be, or factual numbers after end of this year will be even higher than 3.9. It will be at least 4 or 4.5%. That's my estimation. So yes, this is it, dear friends. This is it for now. How long is this update? Relatively long one, but hopefully you will find it informative, interesting, useful, entertaining maybe. That will be great. And dear friends, you can please click that like button, leave some commentary. This is the only way we can at least try and influence algorithm, extremely aggressive algorithm, especially on YouTube. And for same reason, if you can please share information about my channel with your friends on on internet or in real life. And if you like my work, if you want to see further development of this project, please consider to support her. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.